Step into the spectrum where the quiet learn to speak. Where cowards lose their cover and the bold become unique. Black pages birth the light. Every pigment takes its role. If you came here once unseen, this art will make you whole. Welcome to the canvas where excuses come to die. Where ink comes down to timid and colors testify. No shelter in the palette, broken edges forge you whole. This is conversations in color and I am unfold the soul. Yeah. And I am unfold the soul.
Welcome to or welcome back to another episode of Conversations in Color with Unfold the Soul. I'm Ken Williams. This is my art, my hand-drawn art. And I'm going to pick a piece off the wall. We're going to find out what the wall was saying, and then we'll see where the conversation takes us. So let's find today's conversation. This is one of my early pieces. It says, my leadership stands on the content expertise of my motherfucking teachers. And what I want to touch on today is, I had a couple of titles I was playing with. One, to get right to it, is feel versus real. Feel versus real. Education, leadership in education's got a ton of feel. We love making people feel like they're appreciated, or feel like they matter, or feel like an expert. But ain't it's the real part that matters, you know? It's the real part. Because my other title was, do you like your principal, or do you want to cut a bitch behind your principal? See, I wanted to be the second one. And I have an ego. I wanted my teachers to like me, all that stuff. I struggled with that very early on, you know? But when I say a teacher will cut a bitch behind you, it's not simply because they like you. It's very little of it is personal. Personal's a part of it, but the larger part of it is what cutting a bitch is going to protect. You see, when shit hit, my go-to was always, what you need, what can I get you? I can't do shit about where he lives, but I can make you better, baby. What you want me to buy you? And take your best swing. So I always took it back to teacher expertise. And what I mean by that is, open your bag and grab something inside it. I don't mean their expertise as in I'm making sure they comply with this compliant bullshit that teachers are asked to. I'm talking about what's inside that teacher. And what I call that is the jump. I call it the leadership jump. It's when I thought about becoming a principal, the single scariest and simultaneously most attractive moment and experience that I was terrified of and looked forward to was the jump. I don't have another name for it, but as a student of leadership, it's just a part of leadership, period. And I was one of those people that, like, I knew the fundamentals of all leadership, and I just took it and applied it to school leadership. But the jump was everything. So at my second school, I'll be honest with you, I didn't have to take as big a jump at the first school because it was already understood that teacher expertise matters. I mean, things weren't perfect, but it was understood. My teachers there, they knew they were experts. Right? Kramer was a 5th grade expert, right? Joel, They, they, they were experts. So it was about just keeping us focused on the stuff we could control. But they knew they knew I had their six, and they knew if they needed something, I was going to go get it. At my second school, it was worst performing school in the district, according to what they were measuring. I stood, and then it was also kind of the advent of all this demographic bullshit starting. I stood in front of my staff and said, the district's giving me 9 excuses to use to talk about our results, and I reject all of them because I have you. And you're going to tell me what you need, and I'm going to go get it. And then you're going to take your strongest swing on it. And after that, we're not only going to live with the results, I will defend them. It's pretty much what I say. That's this. That's this. So here's my larger point, just even on a more divine level. You can't, it's like telling somebody, I want to feel like you love me. When we tell teachers, I want to make teachers feel like they matter. You can't make people feel like they matter. If they matter, they don't. It's a zero-sum game. The whole feel like they matter, that's Universal Studios. That's amusement parks and fantasy camps and bullshit like that. But real life is, when you matter, it's activated. My teachers knew. And we collectively, that first year, we were janky as fuck. But what that got to do with anything? I signed on as the leader. So I go in and see who I inherited, and shit. We did the best we could to make noise. To make noise. But when you're a leader, people don't qualify for your jump. You take the jump. And it's no different when I have PD with your teachers. This is why they'll run. They'll run with me. I got no school. Because when I look as a teacher and I get behind her eyes, she knows 2 things. 1, this nigga's crazy. But 2, what he's talking about we're going to accomplish, he can't do that without me. As I am. And once that click happens with a teacher and me, boop, I'm right behind those eyes. I got all access to all that real estate, man. And then I go unlock that bad bitch, and then we go running. We go running. But that's something you can't do until you jump. See, right now, you're going to say, I say those words, I motivate my teachers, right? And the next breath talking about, but remember where they from? No. Remember they poor. We know our ELs. We are a special ed population. All you doing, you are labeling your students as adversity. You should be fucking embarrassed. You literally label them as adversity. Because if I ask you where the right kids, what's label you got for the right kids? Jenny, Ashton, Kyle, nigga. Every label you put on a kid is telling the teacher this burden. Superintendent's handing over schools. Now, I know you got a large EL population. Well, what that got to do with your strongest instruction? What it got to do with a teacher's strongest instruction? And I know principals like, when are you going to talk to teachers about that? I ain't worried about teachers. 1, they're unseen. So shit, if I put an eye on them, I'm going to get the monster out of them. And 2, teachers follow. What teacher's going to rise up against the principal saying, you know what, it is all about your expertise. I want to build you guys into the best 4th grade math instructors on earth. Tell me what you need to do that. What conditions do you need to have in place? How may I serve your unfolding? What conferences do you think you want to go to? And I want to find out what scares you a little bit. Like, what are you reaching for that just like is just out of your reach? What are those things? How do you want to finish the year? What do you want your reputation to be? When I make everything about the teacher's expertise. You make everything about ashy ass stories about shit you cannot control. I make teachers the inspiration. I run a school today. You ask me about my demographic and population, you're going to find out how many master's degrees we got. You're going to find out how many of my parapros are in teaching certification programs. You're going to find out how many of my custodians have escalated to head custodian. You're going to find out how many 30-year plus vets we have that are still in the game. You're going to find out how many new teachers we bring in, what their certifications are, what their accomplishments are, where they've gotten better. That's what you're going to find out. That's what you're going to find out. But until you take the jump, which is where you will feel your heart beat, that's what's missing from your work right now. You got lots of heartfelt, all that soft bullshit that you can't control. All your heartfelt is wrapped up in the kids you have no control over. You walking right past your fucking teachers and making stories of these kids. Inspiration, hiding behind ailments. You got to cut that bullshit out. And I know you're good people. But I've been saying this shit a couple of years and I'm done with it. When you all about kids, you cannot be for my teachers. And that's cool because I'm going to be about them. I'm going to be about them. What else do I have here? You can't make teachers feel like they matter. That's all you can do, in fact. And they don't even feel like they matter because they know at the end of the year, you're going to look around, sniff around, and whatever smells you got, you get to blame them and flush 180 days of a teacher's work down the fucking drain. But what I'm going to get teachers to do is I'm going to get them to focus on their expertise. So they're going to walk out better bad bitches and better teachers by virtue of their own capacity building, that the year won't be a waste. I'm going to get their eyes off your ashy ass stories because their job is to not save kids. Their job is to unfold into the most fantastic content expert they want to be and then share that love of craft with students. But I don't want to get too far off course. I want to get back to that jump. Nothing happens before it. You can say all the shit you want. The best you'll be is liked. For make people feel warm and stuff. But purpose? You know what my teachers knew at the moment I said that shit? That we were on a mission. We didn't need no fucking 8-week mission statement program. Every one of those teachers walked out of it. Every parapro walked out of it saying, God damn, all right. It's inherent in leadership. Here's the other thing I discovered, and I'm going to wrap up with this about taking that jump. Of course, where 3 or more are gathered, there are going to be personality conflicts. I'm going to tell you, I got along with every teacher. Every teacher liked me or whatever. But here's what I discovered, and I've discovered since through the consultancy. When you lay out for your teachers, even the ones who ain't crazy about you, not going to want to see you lose, because everyone wants to be part of a winning organization and everyone wants to feel purpose. And when a leader lays out like this, now I'm not talking about some emotional layout for teacher expertise, which means everything we do, everything we become is going to be based on your expertise and how I serve it. When you lay out like that, every staff member is going to want to win. Nobody's going to want to sabotage that thing, even if they don't like you. Because what every human can appreciate at the level of the soul is when someone, a leader, embraces the uncertainty of leadership. And that is 1000% what's missing right now. That's why you don't feel your heart, because you have no uncertainty in your life. The only uncertainty is which brand of niggas is showing up at my doorstep next year that I can claim and blame at the end of the year. But you have no heartbeat. You have heartfelt. And that's a poor substitute. Heartbeat comes with the uncertainty of outcomes. It comes with the discovery of who your teachers are and what their strengths are and what their passions are and how they level their expertise. And it comes from the courage to step out from behind the backgrounds of the kids you so-called say you're all about and head your ass back to the school and serve my teachers. Until next time, I'm Ken Williams, Unfold the Soul, and may the bridges I burn light the way.
And